I'm going to read to you the 3 founding principles of the Church of Satan. The first principle segment is the 9 satanic statements. Number 1, Satan represents indulgence instead of abstinence. Number 2, Satan represents vital existence instead of spiritual pipe dreams. 3, Satan represents undefiled wisdom instead of hypocritical self-deceit. 4, Satan represents kindness to those who deserve it instead of love wasted on ingrates. 5, Satan represents vengeance instead of turning the other cheek. 6, Satan represents responsibility to the responsible instead of concern for psychic vampires. 7, Satan represents man as just another animal, sometimes better, more often worse than those that crawl on all fours, for because of our divine, spiritual, and intellectual development, have become the most vicious animal of them all. 8, Satan represents all of the so-called sins, as they all lead to physical, mental, or emotional gratification. 9, Satan has been the best friend the church has ever had, for he's kept it in business all these years. Now, we have the 11 satanic rules of the earth. 1, do not give opinions or advice unless you are asked. 2, do not tell your troubles to others unless you are sure they want to hear them. 3, when in another's lair, show him respect or else do not go there. 4, if a guest is in your lair, annoys you, treat him cruelly and without mercy. 5, do not make sexual advances unless you are given the mating signal. 6, do not take that which does not belong to you unless it is a burden to the other people and he cries out to be relieved. 7, acknowledge the power of magic if you have employed it successfully to obtain your desires. If you deny the power of magic after having called upon it with success, you will lose all you have obtained. 8, do not complain about anything to which you need not subject yourself. 9, do not harm little children. 10, do not kill non-human animals unless you are attacked or for your food. 11, when walking in open territory, bother no one. If someone bothers you, ask him to stop. If he does not stop, destroy him. The 9 satanic sins. Stupidity. Stupidity is at the top of the list for satanic sins, the cardinal sin of Satanism. It's too bad that stupidity isn't painful. Ignorance is one thing, but our society thrives increasingly on stupidity. It depends on people going along with whatever they are told. The media promotes a cultivated stupidity as a posture that is not only acceptable, but laudable. Satanists must learn to see through the tricks and cannot afford to be stupid. Pretentiousness. Empty posturing can be most irritating and isn't applying the cardinal rule of lesser magic. One equal footing with stupidity for what keeps the money in circulation these days. Everyone's made to feel like a big shot, whether they can come up with the goods or not. Solipsism can be very dangerous for Satanists. Projecting your reactions, responses, and sensibilities onto someone who is probably far less attuned than you are. It is the mistake of expecting people to give you the same consideration, courtesy, and respect that you naturally give them. They won't. Instead, Satanists must strive to apply the dictum of do unto others as they do unto you. It's work for most of us to require constant vigilance lest you slip into a comfortable illusion of everyone being like you. As has been said, certain utopias would be ideal in a nation of philosophers, but unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately, from a Machiavellian standpoint, we are far from that point. Self-deceit. It is the 9 satanic statements, but deserves to be repeated here. Another cardinal, we must not pay homage to any of the sacred cows presented to us, including the roles we are expected to play ourselves. The only time self-deceit should be entered into is when it's fun, and with awareness, but then it's not self-deceit. Herd conformity. That's obvious from satanic stance. It's all right to conform to a person's wishes. If it ultimately benefits you, but only fools follow along with the herd. Letting an impersonal entity dictate to you, the key is to choose the master wisely, instead of being enslaved by the whims of the many. Lack of perspective. Again, this one can lead to a lot of pain for a Satanist. You must never lose sight of who and what you are, and what a threat you can be. By your very existence, we are making history right now, every day. Always keep the wider historical and social picture in mind. This is an important key to both lesser and greater magic. See the pattern and fit things together as you want the pieces to fall into places. Do not be swayed by the herd constraints. Know that you are working on another level entirely from the rest of the world. Forgetfulness of past orthodoxies. Be aware that this is one of the keys to brainwashing people into accepting something new and different, when in reality it's something that was once widely accepted but is now presented in a new package. We are expected to rave about it, the genius of the creator, and forget the original. This makes for a disposable society. Counterproductive pride. The first word is important. Pride is great up to the point you begin to throw out the baby with the bathwater. The rule of Satanism is, if it works for you, great. When it stops working for you, when you painted yourself into a corner and the only way out is to say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, I wish we could compromise somehow, then do it. Lack of aesthetics. This is the physical application of the balance factor. Aesthetics is important in lesser magic and should be cultivated. It is obvious that no one can collect any money off classical standards of beauty and form most of the time, so they are discouraged in consumer society. But an eye for beauty, for balance, is an essential satanic tool, and must be applied for the greatest magical effectiveness. It's not what's supposed to be pleasing, it's what is. Aesthetics is a personal thing, reflective of one's own nature. There are universally pleasing and harmonious configurations that should not be denied. This material sums up the rudiments of satanic philosophy. It certainly has nothing to do with the prevailing Judeo-Christian outlook of altruism and self-sacrifice, and can thus seem quite alien and frightening to one brought up in the worldview. Realistically, the satanic code of behavior is based on human nature, as it is, and thus comes naturally to most carnal people who have not been deeply indoctrinated in anti-life and anti-rational belief systems. It is a fact that many people today call themselves Christian, but really have no clear concept as to what the philosophy really entails, so they generally behave in a satanic fashion. We think that it is high time that it is recognized and that people call themselves what they truly are, not what's socially convenient for them. As you can see, there are no elements of devil worship in the Church of Satan. Such practices are looked upon as being Christian heresies. Believing in the Christian worldview of God versus the devil and choosing to side with the Prince of Darkness is pointless to the Satanist, as neither exists. Additionally, we do not believe in the supernatural. To the Satanist, he is his own God. Satan is a symbol of man, living as a prideful carnal nature dictates. Some Satanists extend this symbol to encompass the evolutionary force of entropy that permeates all of nature and provides the drive for survival and propagation inherent in all living things. To the Satanist, Satan is not a conscious entity to be worshipped. Rather, it is a name for the reservoir of power inside of each of us. Human to be tapped at will. Thus, the practice of sacrifice is rejected by Satanists as being a Christian aberration. In Satanism, there is no deity to which one can make a sacrifice. Satanists do, at times, have experience of the supernormal in their practice of ritual or greater magic. This is a technique intended primarily as a self-transformational psychodrama, but which may be used as an attempt towards influencing the outcome of human events to desired ends. In the context of a theatrical stimulating ritual, an extreme emotional state is reached, setting forth a vision of what you want to occur. This is to be, which if your level of adrenalines are high enough, might permeate the unconscious mind for those you wish